You know what commercial landlords fear more than vacancy? The wrong tenant. Everybody assumes vacant space means the landlord is desperate. Sometimes it means they've already learned an expensive lesson. Commercial landlords are not just handing out keys, they're evaluating risks. Can the tenant pay? Will they respect the building? Will they create problems with other tenants? Will they still be there 3 years from now? That's why a big part of my job as a commercial realtor is not just finding space, it's positioning my client as the kind of tenant landlords want to keep. So today, let's talk about what makes a landlord say yes to you. I'm Susan, that commercial realtor. I work with industrial and office tenants, owners, and investors across Burlington and the GTA. One thing tenants sometimes misunderstand is this. When I represent you, I'm not just finding you space, I'm helping present your company as a strong business prospect to a landlord. In commercial real estate, landlords are evaluating risk before they're evaluating the rent. So what do most landlords want? Honestly, most landlords want remarkably simple things. Pay the rent on time without conversation, respect the building, don't disrupt the other tenants, tell them when there's a structural or operational issue before it becomes a much bigger problem. Understand the lease you signed. That's it. Not emotional, operational. Commercial buildings are businesses. If a tenant defaults, damages the property, ignores maintenance issues, violates clauses, or creates issues with neighboring tenants, the landlord now has downtime, legal costs, leasing costs, improvement costs, and carrying costs all over again. That gets expensive very quickly, so landlords are constantly asking themselves one question. What's the likelihood this tenant performs properly over the full term of the lease? That's what they're evaluating. They're not just renting you space, they're entering into a multi-year financial relationship with your company. They want to know that relationship is going to hold, and if it doesn't, commercial leases already contain clauses for that too. This is where covenant comes in. You'll hear commercial realtors and landlords use that word constantly. Covenant is the financial strength and operational stability of the tenant. Can the company reliably pay rent? Are they growing responsibly? Do they have experience? Do they have financial backing? Can they survive a difficult market? That's why your commercial realtor asks for so much information. Financials, business history, ownership structure, years in business, expansion plans, industry background. Tenants sometimes feel uncomfortable sharing that information, and I understand that. But from the landlord's perspective, they may be committing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in space, inducements, leasehold improvements, downtime risk, and operating costs to your company. They're underwriting risk, and frankly, so are we. I always describe it this way. Leasing commercial space is a little like arguing a thesis. Your company is the topic, and my job is to build the strongest possible case for why you belong in that building, why you're stable, why you'll succeed there, why the landlord should feel confident in betting on your business long term. That's what a good commercial realtor is doing behind the scenes. We're positioning you strategically against competing tenants, especially in strong buildings and especially with institutional landlords. And not to mention, when there are multiple offers on the table, the strongest tenant usually gets the concessions. Not the loudest, not the tenant making the most demands, the strongest one. The vacancy myth. Well, vacancy doesn't automatically equal desperation. A landlord sitting on vacant space is not looking to hand it to the first taker. They're waiting for the right tenant because the wrong tenant is really expensive. One who defaults, disrupts the building, misunderstands the lease, creates operational problems, or simply was never the right fit in the first place. That's where many tenants read the situation incorrectly. A landlord may absolutely negotiate aggressively for the right tenant. That doesn't mean they will do it for every tenant. If a landlord believes the tenant is unstable, the covenant is weak, the use creates risk, or the operational fit is simply wrong, they may hold the space vacant longer instead. Why? Because replacing a failed tenant costs far more than waiting for the right one. Good landlords think long term. The way to get the best deal is not to walk in acting like you're doing the landlord a favor by showing up. It's to walk in as the most qualified, best prepared, lowest risk tenant in the room. That's why positioning matters. What makes a tenant attractive? Well, the best tenants are usually very straightforward. They communicate clearly, understand their business, understand their space requirements, respect the lease, pay consistently, operate professionally, maintain the premises properly, and work collaboratively when issues arise. That tenant is valuable. And valuable tenants usually get better flexibility, stronger inducements, renewal confidence, expansion opportunities, better negotiation outcomes. Strong tenants, they have leverage, and that's what earns better deals. When I take you on as a client, I'm not just opening doors for you, I'm building the strongest possible case for why your business belongs in that building. Understanding your company, your financials, your plans, your timeline. So when I sit across from a landlord or their agent, I can position your business properly from the very beginning. Because the goal is not just to find space, the goal is to secure the right space with the right terms. And often, the tenants who secure the deals are not the biggest companies. They're the companies presented properly. If you want more straight answers about industrial and office real estate in Burlington and the GTA, hit like, subscribe, and follow along. Commercial real estate rewards preparation, not pressure. I'm Susan, that commercial realtor, built for business, backed by data, negotiating with bite. Now that you know what landlords are really evaluating, what are you going to do about it?